We're back with another edition of TMO Live, the Media Online's video series where we ask newsmakers the tough questions and explore the hot topics. I'm the site's multimedia journalist, Michael Bratt. My guest today has taken the South African comedy world by storm. I'm going to find it difficult to introduce him, so I'll let him do it himself with his larger-than-life personality. Take it away, sir.
Oh, it's pretty simple. Hi, I'm Jason Goliath, South African comedian. Full stop. That's it.
Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
We'll start at the very beginning.
Yes.
How did you get into comedy?
Man, it's a weird story. So, you know, I owned an insurance brokerage. I did a lot of marketing. I did a lot of business kind of in my 20s. And I did well. I made a lot of money. And then out of nowhere, 2008 hit, my business went under and I lost everything. You know, it was literally just liquidation. And I then decided that instead of chasing money, maybe I should chase this passion that had kind of been niggling in the back of my mind. And I initially set out not to do comedy, but to do a little bit of acting and a bit of presenting. So a friend of mine owned an ad agency, a talent agency called Legends, and Pedro said to me, come through, register, go for a few auditions and see what happens. And then I just got very lucky with auditions. And before you knew it, I was nailing a couple of ads. And then I met a guy named Sivingesi while shooting a big beer commercial, and he said, dude, you're very funny, you should try stand-up comedy. I had a conversation with Jason Goliath a few weeks later about that. The next thing you know, we're trying this thing. And my life changed. 3rd of July 2011, comedy changed my life.
You've come a long way since then.
Oh man, it's been the best 5 years of my life, without doubt.
What is the secret to your success? What does it take to be a great comedian?
Well, those are two very, very different questions. So I think the secret to my success is that my equation reads, happiness creates success, and I chase the happy. Happiness has become the most important part of my life, and I'm fortunate enough and conscious enough to be aware of how blessed I am to do the thing that makes me happy, and that's all I do. I just do the thing that makes me happy as much as I can, and I found ways to monetize it. What makes you a great comedian? I think firstly you have to be funny. I think that's a very, very important fact. A lot of people kind of say, no, you can learn to be funny. But I think at your gut and at your core, you have to be funny. And I'll tell you why. Because if you're funny people are funny because they enjoy making other people laugh. Anybody can make somebody laugh, but funny people kind of tend to go out of their way. Like for me, if I'm in a queue at a shopping center, I like to make the cashier laugh. I like to make anybody I engage with laugh, because making people laugh is something that makes me very, very happy. So that's number one. Number two, obviously, I think you need to create your own material. That's very, very important. Comedians take plagiarism very, very seriously. And then you have to be willing to do it for free. You have to love it that much. So when I go on holiday, and a lot of my comedian friends that I know, when you go on holiday, the first thing you do is not figure out where the beach or where the restaurant is. The first thing you do is figure out if there's any comedy happening in this new area that you haven't been playing in, and try your best to jump on stage. And it's literally, the best comedians I know can't feel uncomfortable sitting in a room where the audience is on fire, the show's on fire, because they want to get a piece of that action, they want to get on stage. So the trick for me is write your own material, be funny, and be willing to do it for free. If you're good, you're not going to have to do it for free, but be willing to do it for free. So don't start. Too many young guys, you see Trevor Noah, he's making the big time, and now people go, oh my God, I'm going to get rich doing comedy. If you start on that foot, I feel like you've already lost the battle. You've got to start doing comedy because you love comedy. Singers normally start singing before they speak. And then because they're so good and so passionate, it becomes a career. You don't kind of wake up one day with a 50% okay voice and go, I'm going to be rich and famous. I feel the best singers are guys that have been doing it forever, and comedy for me feels about the same.
This year you've used your comedy at a lot of award shows, one of them being the Most Awards.
Yes.
The second year in a row that you hosted it.
I feel like you should give me a round of applause for that.
Definitely.
Just tap something on something. Yeah,
there you go.
2 in a row, Most Awards. I think the first time it's ever been done. That makes me happy.
How did you find that experience?
So I've got to be honest. Year one, I was slightly intimidated because performing for ad folk is very, very intimidating. I find that ad folk are not as generous with their laughter as normal civilians. So I was expecting a lot of criticism, but in everything I do, I can only just be myself and do the best that I can do. And I think that's kind of what pulls me through and saves me in a lot of situations, is that I think that they kind of just see that I'm not trying to impress anybody. I'm just there to have fun, and hopefully that leads to everybody else having fun. And that's exactly what happened this year. So I think this year went a lot better because I was less nervous. I also had more of the reins to kind of do my thing. And I found it particularly interesting and exciting. And I also just, there's a sense of the gravitas of the awards when you're at the most awards, in that the industry not only come out in numbers, but it's a really big deal to take one of those awards home. And to be the facilitator of that type of joy, I mean, that makes me very happy.
Speaking of having fun, a venture that's taking up a lot of your time at the moment.
Yes.
The new comedy club opened earlier this year.
It's the biggest, most passionate move we've ever made as Goliath and Goliath. And I say that because, we kind of, every move we make has got to benefit comedy first, and we can benefit as a result thereof as a business. And this was just, I'd been to the big Canadian festival just for laughs in Montreal. I'd been to the big French festival, Montreux Comedy in Montreux in Switzerland. And what I realized when engaging with international comedians is their major advantage over us is not only do they have more platforms, but they have more dedicated rooms and spaces to be able to stretch their legs and practice their craft. And I kind of came back from Canada last year with this thing in my mind, because I'd just seen Trevor do a massive gala to a 3,000 seat international audience, and he was unbelievable. And I came back with the thing in my mind that I think that what Goliath and Goliath need to do is assist South African comedy in proving to the world that Trevor wasn't a fluke. He wasn't a one-hit wonder. We have tons of great talent in the country, but that talent needed an international quality stage, and we'd also want to use that international quality stage to perhaps attract international comedians. So it's been a really exciting and stressful adventure. I think we've built one of the nicest comedy clubs in the world. I mean, it may sound a bit vain to say so, but that is our intention. Let's give South Africans the best comedy club in the world. And South African comedians just love it. They hang out at the club all the time. The food is great. The venue is great, because we were just like, instead of having comedy based on only the stage, let this be an experience. So a lot of people come for the food. A lot of people come just for the ambience and the vibe in the venue. And then when you add comedy to that experience, now you have a full 360 type of touch point where everybody leaves satisfied in one or other way.
Aside from that venture, you seem to be in demand this year, because you also have your show on SABC, Larger Than Life. So how did that come about?
Man, I think, when you put things out into the universe, sometimes you got to be careful what you wish for. And that's where that old saying comes from. So after doing Strictly Come Dancing with the SABC last year, I mentioned to everybody that would listen that I think I'd be great as a late night talk show host. I think I'd be great as a late night talk show host. And I think when the opportunity came about, my name was top of mind because I'd mentioned it to so many people. And it was just a very natural fit. And because I'd mentioned it to them, they were able to kind of build the structure of the show around my personality, instead of having a concept and then inserting a talent thereafter to kind of articulate that talent. But I think that the show's been great. We've done season 1. We are in negotiations for season 2. It was fantastic for me to be able to stretch my legs and prove to myself that I can host a late night talk show. I've always loved engaging with people, but having a conversation over a beer and having a conversation on national TV are two completely different things. And I was also very passionate about the fact that I was tired of every single celebrity and interesting person being PR'd. We always get this polished, beautiful version of this person, and I just wanted to understand, because you don't become a celebrity or an interesting person if you're not interesting. And I just wanted to kind of scratch the surface and get rid of that gloss that PR and Facebook and all of these social media kind of gives these people. And I wanted South Africans to meet the humans behind the celebrities.
You're doing that with your comedy club as well, because you're having the local talent perform there. Who would you say are the top 3 best local comedians at the moment?
Yeah. That's a tough question. So top 3 best local comedians. The South African comedy scene is developing, and there's a bit of a split at the moment compared to other genres, because the vernac genre is, I think, at the moment just as big as the English genre, and it's not fair to put English comedians and vernac. So in the vernac space, you've got guys like Skumba Hlope, who is just insane. If Bernie Mac and Cedric the Entertainer had a child, that's the energy that Skumba possesses. And why I mentioned Skumba first is because not only is he king of vernac, but no English actor will follow him in an English room as well. So he's just a force of nature. You can't help but laugh. He forces you to laugh. Whether you agree with his moral grounding or not, you're going to laugh. So Skumba Hlope, I'd have to say guys like Mpo Pops, locally, who is just still one of my favorite acts of all times. You've got a lot of new talent coming up. You've got guys like Ebenezer Dibakwane, you've got guys like Prince, who are just developing, and then you've got guys like Loyiso Madinga and Tats Nkonzo, who are just consummate professionals. There are too many, and it's not fair, because I love comedy so much, it's not fair to go name your 3 favorites. But the point I'm trying to make is there are tons of great comics coming up at the moment.
Well, I'm going to try and make you do it again. International comedians, top 3.
Top 3 international, I think that's easier because I'm just going to go my top 3 of all time. So my top 3 of all time, my number 1, Bernie Mac. Love Bernie Mac. Just love that energy, and I think I see a lot of myself in Bernie Mac. He was just unafraid, and he only started comedy at 40, which was hugely inspirational for me. I started at 30. Unfortunately, Mac passed away at 50, but in 10 years was able to live his dream, which is fantastic. So I'd go Bernie Mac, I'd go Richard Pryor for changing the game, and I'd go Dave Chappelle, because I saw Dave Chappelle live, and it literally, I've never had goosebumps for 2 hours straight. Like, while watching, the goosebumps never subsided. I had goosebumps. So Dave Chappelle, it's tough. There's so many I'm leaving out, but let me stay there.
I wish I could talk to you for so much longer, but time is up.
I talk too much.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
If you're in the mood for loads of laughs, watch his show on SABC, visit his comedy club at Melrose Arch. That was comedian Jason Goliath. Until next Wednesday, it's goodbye from me.